Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be taking a look at two of the cases that we've recently received that we believe are for the S8 and the S8 Plus, or could it be the S8 Edge? So we've received these two cases and they do tell us an awful lot, and we're just going to have a really quick look and see what they tell us and what we think they might be revealing about these new phones from Samsung. So I've got the one that we believe for the S8 here first, and I also happen to have an S7 just as a size comparison, and as you can see it fits really snugly into this case, which tells us that the phone's going to be roughly the same size, so we can expect another sort of 5.1 inch display on this phone again. We'll just have a look at the next case that we've got here, which is what we believe to be for the S8 Plus, and I happen to have an S7 Edge, so we'll go ahead and pop that in. And as you can see, top and bottom fit very snugly indeed. However, there is a big massive gap on the one side when pushed the other side up against the side of the case, so as you can see they're a lot wider than the S7 Edge. And finally we also have a Note 7 dummy here, so again top and bottom fits very snugly indeed, and still a little bit of a gap on that edge there, as you can see, so a wider phone we can be expecting, but still around the same sort of dimensions as two of Samsung's latest and most recent devices. In terms of ports, we do have an interesting selection on these cases that do differ from Samsung's normal style. I will start with the bottom, which is probably the most, the area of most interest. As you can see right at the bottom there, we have three cutouts. Now, the first one to me is the most interesting. Now, if I bring back the Note 7, put it in backwards, you can see that it actually aligns really well with the S Pen. This is the same on both cases, so there are a cutout for both that are exactly the same, which could lead us to believe that we're going to get an S Pen for both the S8 and the S8 Plus, which would be a real strange decision by Samsung, because we believe that they will be carrying on with the Note series. But it would be a really cool thing if we did end up with an S Pen in these phones as well. In terms of the rest of the ports, I can't see a charging port at all. This circular one in the middle looks more like a microphone port to me, as you can see by this close up here, rather than an actual like aux port or anything like that. And in terms of this port at the end, this port opening here, I think that's more likely to be a speaker, as it actually mirrors at the top, so we could have dual speakers there rather than anything else. It's too small and narrow really to be a charging port in my opinion, plus it's too far over to the edge. Yes, other phones have had off-center charging ports, but this seems too far over to make any sort of sense. So in terms of ports, these cases are very revealing. Obviously you've got your standard camera one there at the back, potentially a flash or some sort of, you know, heart rate monitor maybe, but more likely a flash there at the top. We also see the power button move onto the same side now as the volume button, so nothing on this one side, nice and clean, and we have all the buttons on this one side, which is a change from Samsung's normal setup. So other than that, like I mentioned previously, at the top we also have a cutout here which is in parallel with this one at the bottom, so potentially dual speaker cutouts there. I will just show you with a couple of accessories why I believe these ports to be what they are. So I've got a standard headphone port here, and while it does fit in, it's very tight, and when we saw it earlier it really lined up well with the microphone, so I don't believe that to be correct for the headphone socket in my personal opinion. I also have a USB-C and micro USB cable. I'll start off with the micro USB. As you can see, it does fit inside, but notice how the surround does not at all. So there's nothing going in, and that is very similar to the USB-C charger. As you can see, the housing does not go into this port, so that leads me to believe it's not a charging port. And the same can be said here, it just does not fit at all. Really, you have to stretch it, so I can't imagine that either of those are a charging port. Whereas when you combine it, this is an S7 Edge case. As you can see, very, very wide openings that allow both the actual connector and the housing to go inside. So I can't imagine that there will be a charging port if these cases are correct. So as you can see there, the actual housing will fit into these cases, and that's the sort of usual standard. So these cases do tell us a lot. Potentially we will be getting an S Pen in the S8 and the S8 Plus, and also maybe no charging port. Maybe we'll be going fully wireless charging with these phones. Of course, these cases may be a load of rubbish, and they could be very, very wrong indeed, but it seems strange for them to have been made and not to be based on some sort of accurate interpretations of these new phones. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you think these are real and if you think any of these features will be coming to the S8 and the S8 Plus.